Like tears from a star, on and on the rain will say how fragile we are, how fragile we are, how fragile we are, how fragile we are.
Hong Song-dam is serving a 7-year prison sentence in South Korea for sending a photograph. He has been tortured and permanently injured. His crime was his wish to communicate with his fellow artists across the border in North Korea. Hong Song-dam is an internationally famous woodblock artist. He has won prizes and is chairman of an artists' federation. The South Korean authorities, however, regard him as a dissident. They have given him the maximum sentence they can under the national security law, which forbids the production of any material which, and I quote, praises, benefits, or encourages North Korea. Throughout South Korea, Hong Song-dam is known for his woodblock prints, which show scenes of anti-government and anti-US protests. The most famous of these is a massacre which took place in 1980 in his hometown of Gwangju, where the military killed at least 300 people during demonstrations. Many thousands more were arrested and tortured, as you can see in this print. He was taken into custody in July last year by the security forces. For 3 weeks they questioned him about his contacts, and particularly about sending a slide of this large mural to be shown at a festival of students in the north. He was not allowed to see a lawyer. Later, when he was able to receive visitors, he told them that he had been tortured, kept continuously awake, and beaten about the head and hands. In order to secure a confession that he had been to North Korea, security officers apparently placed a plank across his legs and tried to break them. At his trial, Hong Song-dam was accused of acting as a propagandist painter for North Korean ideology and for leaking state secrets by presenting books and magazines to North Korean artists. The charge of spying has since been dropped. The rest remains. When President No Tae-woo came to power in 1988, he promised to investigate human rights violations in South Korea. Hundreds of political prisoners were freed. However, the spirit of democracy was short-lived. Since then, mass arrests and reports of torture have multiplied, and there are over 200 people in prison on charges of spying for the North. Hong Song-dam is 35. He is divorced and was bringing up his 10-year-old son on his own. When the boy visits him in prison, they sing songs together. The child has gone to live with his grandmother, and as Gwangju lies far from Seoul and there is little money, visits have become very rare. In his early days in prison, Hong Song-dam was allowed to draw. But after he had smuggled out pictures of his torturer, all visits were temporarily banned, and he was refused paper or pens. This must be the worst form of punishment for an artist who for the last 20 years has been recording his peaceful opposition to oppression. If you would like to help Hong Song-dam, please send a stamped addressed envelope to Prisoners of Conscience, BBC TV, London, W12 7RJ, or you can phone this number now, free of charge, 0800 767 800.
How fragile we are. Like tears from a star, like tears from a star. On and on the rain will say how fragile we are, how fragile we are, how fragile we are, how fragile we are.
There are not many poets in prison in the world today accused of being a spy, but Ul-Gyun is one of them. He is 39 and comes from South Korea. Today he is in Daejeon prison, serving an 8-year sentence. He is ill with kidney trouble and in constant pain. Chung comes from a poor family and left school at 15 to work as a shoeshine boy. By 1970, he had saved up enough to enter the Department of Journalism at Sogang University in Seoul, though he continued to finance his studies by working on building sites and as a dustman. He was 29 when he finally graduated. That year, he and his wife set up the Kmar Publishing Company to produce books of ancient Korean history. But within 2 years, he had lost his license after bringing out a book of poems criticizing the government. His involvement with dissident groups increased. In 1985, he moved to Kyoto in Japan to pursue his studies at the university. While there, he met prominent exiles from both North and South Korea and composed a song about reunification. Any activity to do with the North is still banned in South Korea. When Chung returned home in March 1987, he was arrested. 8 months later, he was found guilty of praising, encouraging, and siding with the North. At his trial, Chung insisted that all he wanted was to find out more about the two Koreas. He denied ever being a spy and claimed that he had been tortured by being kept awake day and night. The authorities alleged that money found on him was in fact payment to carry on his spying activities. He explained that these were donations collected by a Japanese church for poor people in South Korea. Chung's wife was arrested when she went to look for him and was accused of not reporting a spy. She was also tortured, but later freed. Korea has sentenced more than 200 people for spying, and some of these men have been in prison for over 30 years. There is considerable stigma being a member of a family of one of them. Chung and his wife have 3 young children, and their daughter was continually bullied at school. And yet his wife continues to campaign on his behalf. When President No Tae-woo came to power in 1988, he promised to investigate human rights violations. Hundreds of political prisoners were released, but the spirit of democracy has been short-lived. Reports of mass arrests and torture in South Korea are growing all the time. The government insists that a prisoner confesses his crime before they will consider an amnesty. Chung has not only been on hunger strike, demanding better conditions, but consistently and bravely he refuses to recant, despite recurring kidney problems and intense pain. If you would like to help Chung Ul-Gyun, please send a stamped addressed envelope to Prisoners of Conscience, BBC TV, London W12 7RJ, or you can phone this number now, free of charge, 0800 767 800.
How fragile we are, how fragile we are.